Nick had mentioned that we'll wait and see if money is the issue. Well, why don't we see if morale is actually the issue and see if they'll vote for a no confidence vote? If they give us a no confidence vote, then we can move forward with in another direction. You're not understanding what I'm saying?
A no confidence vote on the chief?
Right.
I don't think there's that kind of issue in the police department.
Well, they indicated that. That was number 2 was morale.
Well, morale, but not necessarily no confidence.
I'm just saying,
in the chief,
you know,
I think.
a number one issue for anyone to leave their job, of course, consideration for leaving the job for anyone is going to be money. Even if you have great morale, you know, will you consider leaving your job? Well, sure, for more money. So for me, number 1 is not worth anything until you address number 2. So I think it's throwing a lot of money when maybe number 2 is the problem. Maybe we need to see where that goes before we throw money at it.
Well, we
I'm just saying, it's, you know, we're brainstorming, so I'm not asking you to take sides. I'm asking for a brainstorm
not
here.
brainstorming at this point. I mean, at this point, we've reached an agreement with the union based upon direction we got from council after the police union came and presented and said, hey, these are the results of our survey. This is what's going on in the department. We've been in touch with them. We've been in touch with other experts. I'm not certain in my own mind that money's the issue. I mean, and the problem where we're having retention is not with the older officers. It's with those officers that have less than 10 years of experience. So what you're going to see next week is an adjustment to the pay scale for those officers that basically results since January 1 in a 28% increase in the starting pay for a patrol officer in the city of Pueblo. So we're going to see whether or not money is part of the reason. You know, money's probably part of the reason, but part of the reason is what's going on in this country and what's gone on in this country in the last 3 years. Nobody wants to be a police officer because citizens don't respect them, the community doesn't respect them. I think it's different here, but when you're looking at trying to attract people here, they don't pick up on that.
We have to move on.
No. This is why we end up not having decisions, because we move on. I mean, seriously, this is why things come back all the time, and we just call it off too soon.
We do have an agenda. We have friends here.
But I just want to point out that when HR gave that big presentation, it was like 1% or one person left because of issues with the new laws and how policemen are treated. One person.
Right.
That was it. So
That's the reason
that's
they
not
left, but
not a legitimate. That wasn't a legitimate deal.
Well, but that's part of the reason why that's why people leave. But in terms of attracting new people who want to be police officers.
You're talking about retention.
Well, we're talking
That's the
about
whole thing is
recruitment and
retention here.
retention. We're talking about
Right.
both.
Right.
We're talking about both.
So when we make these agreements to put money in place, we're under contract. And then say, like you just said, well, we're trying this first. But we're contractually obligated to pay them this pay increase for a number of years. What Larry says, if what's told to him is true, I'm going to take my money and I'm out of here. That's reinforcing that almost 40%, 2 different issues, morale and administration, are a serious factor in this. And we're not here trying to say, oh, we don't want to give officers money. What we're here is we're trying to resolve the issue. You had said, and the accountant director, our finance director, came and said that if we agree to this increase, it's going to drain the general fund by 2027.
No, a 10% across the board increase right now. That's what they said would drain the general
Okay.
fund.
Well, and then the other thing.
That's not what we've done.
Okay, so what we haven't really talked about the terms in detail, number one, just before a vote is not the time to talk about the final terms. We brought ideas forward. The union brought ideas forward. And you guys went into negotiations, which you should have but you should still have a better presentation and a longer time for council to consider this.
How long you need? You've had 2 weeks so far.
And with no discussion until we brought it up right now. And
This
then,
is the most we've talked about it.
we've talked about this several times, and it's been all on the table for months. It's ridiculous that the two of you are acting like this.
No, what's ridiculous is,
Kind of a new thing.
no,
Okay,
what's
wait.
ridiculous is, you're ridiculous.
Counselor Maestri.
No,
No.
no,
this-
she just called us ridiculous,
We-
Sarah, don't start.
But, okay, so this is.
So
this-
what I want
we
to,
have
what I'm
friends
trying to
here,
ask there.
And this is not on the agenda, Counselor Maestri. We have talked a lot about this
Okay,
on work
so
sessions.
how we're going to run, no, we have not talked about the final details.
Then
We
we will
talked
talk about it at the next meeting.
But then we're supposed to vote. So when are those amendments supposed to be made? If there is an amendment to it, that means we got to turn around and send it all back to be amended. And so I'm going to stand firm on this. We need to have, you think it's funny? Oh, okay.
I'm glad you're standing firm.
So I'm standing firm on this. We need to have a discussion, because here's the other thing. We're talking about the police right now, but fire's right behind it. We know that. We know fire's behind it. We know the General Workers Union is behind it. We're looking at passing out ARPA funds that could be used to cover these things with our infrastructure, and passing out ARPA funds that have nothing to do with our infrastructure. And so we're spending money before we're not spending it from the ARPA funds. We're having to take it from the general fund. Everything that comes in front of us right now is probably because we don't have the ARPA funds to cover all of these retention bonuses.
We do have the ARPA funds to cover the retention bonuses.
You have,
Yes.
but we don't for the salaries for this year.
Salaries, we don't, but
Exactly.
and I don't remember the numbers now, but we're talking about less than $500,000 in increased salaries
For
between
the
now and the
police
end of the year for the
department.
police department.
For the police
Right.
department.
Right.
But we have other unions that are following the police department.
Well, we have a collective bargaining agreement with the general service employees that has been extended. Next year, they're going to get a 5.3% increase. We are in the process of negotiating a contract with the fire department now. Initial proposals haven't been exchanged, but neither of those bargaining units are in the same position as the police department, in my judgment, right now.
But
So,
they're coming to the table, right? They're coming in front of us. Is that correct?
are they coming what?
They're coming in front of us, right? Because
The fire department will, yes. General service is already done. They're done.
when did we approve their, is that?
A couple of
when's
months
their
ago,
pay-
we approved the
No,
extension of their
when's-
contract.
When's their pay from the COVID? When is that? We haven't finished that. We didn't approve that. Remember, they didn't want $1,000 apiece. They wanted so much per hour. They were supposed to come back
Yeah,
here
we
this
have-
month.
We have ARPA money allocated there. There's been,
Yeah, but the ARPA money that we allocated originally was $1,000 per employee.
Right.
Miss Lana.
Now, there's a
Miss
new
Lana.
amount.
Yeah, the update on the general services, COVID essential pay, they had a meeting here, they have the meeting next week, and what the mayor discussed with the bargaining unit president is that she would share, she wanted to have a vote among the individuals, as some of them were going to receive less than $1,000 with the new calculation. So she asked for a vote among her membership, and after that vote takes place next week, she will be back with what that vote resulted in, so we can share that with you and the dollar amounts before the resolution is back on the agenda, which we anticipated to be the 10th of July.
But that can be an increase, correct?
As calculated with the new $1.50 per hour.
Everything was allocated towards an original amount, was allocated towards $1,000, but this new amount is an increase. And we
And-
only have about 1.5 million after allocations.
Yes,
no,
and
it won't be that much. It wasn't 1 point, it's
No,
about
no,
3
no.
times as
I didn't
much.
say that. I said we have, after allocations, the original allocation of the $1,000 per person, of all the ARPA monies, we have 1.5 million left.
You are correct, from last month's report. However, as a result of council's direction to increase from the $1,000 per employee to the $1.50 per hour worked during that COVID period, we made an adjustment in the ARPA funds before the end of last month that we will see how you finalize it, but not until July. And the increase would have gone from the 237 to, I recall, something like, as estimate of 430. It about doubles. But then depending on where the union membership goes, we'll be back to share that with all of you, as some of their membership will be affected and have less than $1,000 as a result of the different calculation.
All righty. Thank you,
Okay,
Ms. Lana.
we have to move on. We have spent enough time on this, and just briefly looking back, we've had 3 separate work sessions about the police department pay. The twice where the police union has been here, and extra time when Chief Miller talked about it. So that's 3 separate work sessions over the course of 3 weeks, and then multiple weeks beyond that, in the middle. So we're moving on. I encourage you, if you want to have more details and information about it, perhaps get with Mr. Jagger as he's writing that for the next regular meeting. Deputy Martin, I appreciate you coming up here. You may return to your seat. I want to extend my deepest, heartfelt thank you to our friends from the Fountain Creek Watershed Project and the Pikes Peak Waterways for your patience tonight. So come on up. We're going to spend the next 30